Okay, in this video, we'll be talking about chapter 37 of the book Called to Community, The Life Jesus Wants for His People. It's entitled Family Values, and it's by the well-known Christian author, speaker, Andy Crouch. And family values is, I think, a pretty loaded term. Wouldn't you say? Politically loaded, politically charged. It's generally claimed by conservatives, and it sort of evokes small town values, traditional values, moral values, traditional family roles, father and mother, and perhaps a suspicion of progressivism. So, in many respects, those are very things that are good, those values. But in the context of Christian community, I think there are family values that are important that are not maybe always part of the conversation. And that's a bit what Andy Crouch talks about. He talks about a small community that he was part of when he was in college, and then how after he got married, how that changed the way the community interacted. What did you take from the chapter?
Yeah, I mean, Andy Crouch talks a lot about his own experiences, so I think, for anyone following along, you should definitely take a deeper dive than we're going to take into this chapter, because it is based on his personal interactions and encounters, and also the way he started his family. Much of it I did not really relate to, but I understood where he was coming from, having lived in community. You do have this dynamic where you have obviously the nuclear family, where parents are trying to raise their kids to the best of their ability, and of course that is much more enriching in community with fellow believers. But then there's also this other aspect where there's individuals in the community that are part of the larger family. There's singles, there's people of varying ages or at different stages in life. And how do all these individuals come together to make a whole, to make a household, if you will? So I thought was really interesting about this, Rich, was when Crouch talks about the biblical world that Christ came into, and how households were more of a common concept. And when Jesus affected various households and they came to Christ, it didn't just affect one person in the household, it touched everybody, and the households were transformed, like Priscilla and Aquila, Philemon, and he gives other examples.
Right. So that would include obviously parents, grandparents, children, married relatives, single relatives, possibly even servants, people who are unrelated, people who help the family out.
Yeah. Just a big network. Yeah.
Right. So it's not two kids and a dog,
right,
and a husband and wife that we're talking about here. Yeah, and I think that's a really important distinction, because I think often we can idealize family life, have a certain idea of our beautiful little family, and how that should be, and that kind of pushes other people out of it. It doesn't involve other people because we're concerned, with these which are very important relationships, the relationship of a married couple and their relationship with their kids. Those are very important relationships, but focusing only on those relationships to the exclusion of other people it's not.
It also can be harmful. Yeah,
it's not great for community, and paradoxically or ironically or whatever, the more you focus on the happiness of your small little family unit, possibly the less likely you are to end up actually being happy.
Right.
And so I guess that's the one family value I think it's left out of the equation sometimes, is the value of mutual obligation, that we as Christians are obliged to one another in our relationships. And in our expression of community here at the Bruderhof, that takes very concrete form. So often when a couple is married, a young couple is married, very shortly after they get married, they're often given the responsibility for caring for someone who is either disabled or is older, or sometimes they're asked to, take care of a family when the parents of the family are sent or are on a business trip or what have you. And in that way, they're contributing to the community, and that's kind of like not something probably most young couples would find. You kind of want to just enjoy your youth and enjoy the but actually part of the marriage commitment within the community is this commitment to serve.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's a very radical concept, actually, to not focus on your immediate future, but to actually right away say, hey, we've found this bond in marriage, we found this commitment, and it should actually further power us beyond ourselves to help others and to be there more fully for others. So I love that radical commitment to Christ can then enable you to actually serve more and to each other.
Exactly. And, in a way you really are helping yourself, because when you do that, as a young couple or as a young, family, when you are able to look out beyond your own family life and care for others, in the long run, it's as much for your benefit as for anyone else. Right. Because so often, so much of our culture is focused on, serving people, who are in the prime of their life, right? So much and actually, we're only, you and I, anyone watching, we're actually only in that stage of life for a pretty short time, right? Mm-hmm. When you're capable, when you're able to do things, and it's actually pretty short-sighted to create an environment where those are the only people who are supported. So. Right.
And I think it really aligns with Christ's teachings straight from the Bible about how you actually have to forsake mother and father and family, and actually commitment to Christ and following God comes first. So while that can be really challenging and difficult at times, it goes right along with what you're saying. If you elevate the church and commitment to Christ over family, over these things that humanly we would think would be most important, the blessings are much richer and the community can flourish and thrive.
Right. I mean, Jesus' words, who are my mother and who are my brothers are the people who do my will. So that's an important family value. And of course, interested what anyone has to say or thinks about this chapter, please hit us up in the comments. Thanks for watching.